أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear viewers to the show, think about it. As always, if you like the show, you like the content, please make sure to hit the subscribe button. Send us over your comments or suggestions for what else you would like us to do our research on and present to you. Today's topic is one that is very interesting because today's topic and episode is geared towards and aimed at all my young people. So, yes, all my young friends who are in their early 20s, in their teens, or even younger than that. If you're 6, 7, 5 years old, listen up because this show is for you. So, before I begin, I have a question for you. What problems do your parents have that you could see around you? What do they complain about most? What times do you see in the day when you could see some kind of tension on their face? If you saw last week's show, or the ones before that, you might have noticed that we talked about expenses and inflation and issues taking place. These affect people in a multitude of ways. I have a story over here of a young man. Well, not really a young man, but definitely we could well, age is in the mind. So we have a story of a young man. His name is Wakas, who has three children. Now, Wakas is a man who lives in Ontario, Canada. So for all my young viewers who live in Canada, this is specifically targeted for you. So Mr. Wakas buys himself a nice house, and he buys the house for $480,000 in 2014. Now, if those adults who are listening are thinking it's a great price, yes, for back then it was called expensive, but in comparison to today, it's a wonderful price to buy a house on. So Wakas buys his house. 2021, he refinances his house for $1.1 million. So 480,000 to 1.1 million. Refinances the house and takes out the equity from the house and goes and buys and puts a down payment on a $1.5 million house. A year later, 2022, refinances the new house for 2 million. Takes out a little bit of equity and goes and books another house. Now, a lot of people in Canada, in Ontario specific, for all my young viewers, have done this. This is not a new phenomenon. It is actually a common one. A lot of people have done this. Now, what I will say to you is based on statistics and a little bit of my own opinion as well. And I will be as professional and as polite as I can be. Our friend Wakas got all three of his properties on a variable rate mortgage. I'm pretty sure you've heard of these terms. If you don't know what variable rate means, please go to your parents and ask them that question. What does variable mean? What does variable rate mean? So, the rates and the inflation and the interest and whatever it is in Canada has gone up. So what has ended up happening is that each of those properties where Wakas was paying 2,500 mortgage, 2,700 mortgage, even 3,000 mortgage was okay because he put them up for rent and he did everything. Because the interest rates have changed and they were on 2.1, 2.2, 2.9 or 3% or whatever, now they've gone up to 4.5, some of them even 7 or 6. What has happened is that his monthly mortgage for each of those houses that he owns has significantly increased. Some of them have even doubled, which has caused him to go up to his tenants who live in those houses, the people who are renting, and say, "Can you please increase the rent?" I think this is not a new story. You probably heard this from a lot of people. Can you please increase the rent? Now, they're not going to increase it above the legal limit because none of his houses were made after 2018. If you want to find out about the rule, you can go to a previous show and have a look at it. So there's a rule. Anything that's made before 15th of November 2018, anything that's made before that is under rent control. Anything made after that is not. But there are talks in the House of Commons, there are talks in the Parliament to actually put down a rent control for that too, which we might be seeing in October. So let's see how that goes. There's nothing definite. There is nothing definite about this government. There's nothing definite about interest rates or mortgages or whatever the case is. Anything can happen. So don't go around trusting everything that you hear, which is a very important lesson and point that I have just mentioned. Please keep that in your mind. So Wakas ends up selling these properties because he cannot afford them anymore. But guess what? Because the interest rates have gone so high, the properties are not selling for as much as he refinanced them for. So the $1.1 million property that he bought for 480 that he refinanced sold for 830K. So that's a good 300K that is still left up on top of that Wakas has to pay back to the bank. The house that he bought for 1.5 and refinanced to 2 million sold for 1.3. That's $700,000. That's $1 million right there. After Wakas sold the houses, sold them, got rid of them, he still has $1 million of debt on top of his head. I don't want to go further on, but what does this show you? It shows you that you go out to live that dream. And what's the dream? You want to have a liability, like a house. A house is not an asset. Whoever has said that, in my opinion, is not very accurate. A house is a liability because it dictates to you how your day is going to be spent. It dictates to you how you're going to go out and work and make sure that the expenses are met. Something that dictates how your life is going to be is never an asset, it is always a liability. Because of liabilities, we think twice. Because of liabilities, we change plans. So, when Wakas sold these houses, even though he owns nothing anymore, he's got a debt of $1 million on top of his head, which is twice the amount of the original house that he bought for $480,000. What can we learn from this? As you can see below, the topic of today is a new approach back to the basics. What does that mean? Excuse me. I want to read to you something that you probably read before, but I'm just going to tweak the words a little bit. This is a famous saying. Difficult times make strong people. Strong people make easier times. Easier times, so we have difficult times, strong people. The strong people make easier times. Easier times make weak people. Weak people make difficult times. And the cycle goes on and on and on. So all the issues that we're seeing right now today, they've actually happened in the past as well. What does that mean? So for all my young viewers, I'm just going to give you a very quick fire piece of advice. And just so you could be helped and just so you could have perspective in your mind, inshallah khair, sadqa jariyah from me, inshallah, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts it, inshallah. But right after this break. So take a break. We will be back. Think about it. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to the show. Think about it. We've been talking about a new strategy, which is in fact not very new. It's rather going back to the basics. In the 1980s and 90s, these years, these 2 decades, and a little bit more and a little bit before them as well, were known to be boom years. Boom years means that new innovations, technology, and digitalization, things were booming. New markets were being emerged were emerging in the market, basically. And so jobs and different things were growing. Shareholder supremacy, I've talked about that in a previous show as well. A phenomena that comes in where investors and stakeholders maximize their profits and values within a company. All of those things could be done when you had boom years. These were the easier times for people. So what people did is they started reaping benefits from the easier times because they could. Let's go a little bit before that. You've all heard of World War II. You've all heard of World War I. You've all heard of these times before. Not a very long time ago, guys. It wasn't like 5,000 years ago. Less than 100 years ago. It was just maybe 2 or 3 years since World War had ended. 1914 to 1919, World War I. In the 1940s is when World War II happened. So, my dear viewers, not even 100 years have passed since World War II. We're still in the same century of the world wars. Remember that. I'm not saying the 19th or the 20th century, 21st. No. I'm saying that from that time, a century hasn't even passed yet. We haven't reached the 100-year mark to the atrocities and the issues that happened in the world. Do you know what people did at that time? So I'm just going to give you a very quick rundown of advice. Number one, count your blessings. What does that mean? You're young. Your parents are struggling right now, but they're making sure that you have a roof over your head, that you get 3 meals a day, if not more. And if you choose to eat less, that's on you. But they try to make sure that you're getting your education. They're trying to make sure that you are covered on all bases. That is a blessing for you. Your parents who came from different countries and immigrated, your parents who probably are second generation Canadians or third generation Canadians, who grew up in a system that was better and now is deteriorating and now they kind of have to find their way, are going through a difficult patch. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy for them and make them successful in all their endeavors. Inshallah. Ameen. And Nasr min Allahi wa fathun qareeb. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring success close to them. And as we all know, فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْأُسْرِ يُسْرًا. That means verily with hardship comes ease. So we're at a moment of hardship. We're going through some difficult times now. We're at that tip point where easy times and difficult times. We have weak people, make no mistake. We have weak people in governments. We have weak people who are professionals. We have weak people on the top. We have weak people who are running policies and making policies. We have weak people up there. It's not that they don't deserve to be there. We genuinely have weak people. And because of weak people, we're in the birth of difficult times. So before we wait until the difficult times solidify, we need to start becoming stronger ourselves. How do you do that? I'm just going to give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of advice today, and then we're done for today. Number one, when you don't have to worry about the bills, the only thing you need to worry about is yourself. So, what you should be doing is number one, invest in technical skills. What does that mean? You should know how to do some form of plumbing, some form of electrical work. You should do some things. I know that for the younger kids who are watching, they're 5, 6 years old. Maybe not electrical stuff, but learn how to work a bicycle, a chain of a bicycle, how to fix it up, how to make it work or whatever. Go out with your dad when he wants to go and get the car oil changed, or when they want to go and get a repair done, or the brake shoes of the car have to be changed. Something's happening. Go and be observant. Go and take a look at the world. Look at all the technicalities that are available around you and at least make yourself aware of them. And then when you can, indulge in them and practice. This is going to give you a lot of strength in terms of general understanding and adaptability. Remember that. When all hell breaks loose, what do people do? They fall back on their skills. That's what's happening. So you need to invest yourself in skills. Being able to speak is a skill. Being able to draw and do art is a skill. Having good hand-eye coordination, having a good grip on things is a skill. Try to use them and utilize them in different fields and ways. You do that, let me tell you this, even the biggest doctors that I know, big people, engineers and lawyers, quite a lot of them, maybe not all of them, but about 70% of them, they're doctors, lawyers, and engineers. They're professors, they're teachers. They have their Uber app on as a driver as well. They have their Skip the Dishes apps on. Why? Because if all hell breaks loose, what are they going to do? If the hospital says, sorry, we don't need you. If the university or the school says, sorry, we don't need you anymore, we're laying you off. If the law firm says, sorry, we're laying you off, what do you do? From making a good salary, you fall down flat. So everybody covers their bases. I have friends of mine who are very highly skilled workers, professionals in fields who make upward of 300K a year. They have AZ licenses, trucking licenses. They have Uber accounts. They have all these things just for a rainy day. What they've also done is they go to different detailing workshops and places and make good relations with them and actually try to work with them too every now and then. Oh, how did you do this? How did you do that? How can I do this? When it comes to, in your house, you want to have a new pavement or, your drive through, try to do it yourself. Help your parents out in these things. Technical skills. That's the first advice. Number two, you need to pursue higher education, my friends. When I say this, you don't want any barriers in your way. A lot of people who have master's degrees, who used to be lecturers and known as professors back in the day, cannot be professors today because those jobs now require PhDs. People who have bachelor's degree, who used to be highly skilled workers in different companies and places, Now those jobs require master's degrees, so they can't do those jobs. Those jobs that required a bachelor's degree require a master's degree now. Those jobs that required college diplomas now require bachelor's degrees. Those jobs that were known to be just labor jobs or jobs that didn't require much, they just needed somebody there, ask if you have some form of education, a diploma or something. So times are changing. Times are definitely becoming more difficult. So with difficult times, you and I, also the grown-ups, this is, I know it's geared towards the youth, but it's also for my dear friends who are of my age group or older. It's also for us. We need to become stronger. That's what we need to do. So, technical skills. Pursue higher education at all costs, whatever you can do. If you get a diploma, if you want to get a license, if you want to study, you can. You should pursue it. Go up to the pinnacle of wherever you can go in your education. Please. This will help you and it will help the world in many ways. Now, third part, you need to work out and do sports as much as possible. You need to make sure that you're physically fit, mentally fit as well. So work out, you could go to the gym, of course, and do whatever, but I'm not saying pumping iron and becoming huge and taking steroids or protein. No. I'm saying work out and be healthy. Exercise. Go out for a run. Do push-ups. Do pull-ups. All right. Do sit-ups every now and then. Go out for a jog whenever you can. Lead a healthy lifestyle. Work on your diet. Work on what you're eating in the morning, at night, in the afternoon. When are you intaking fast food or oily food or grilled food or fried food? When are all these things playing in your life? How much chicken are you eating? How much fish are you eating? How much beef are you eating? How much vegetables? How many vegetables are you eating? What types of vegetables are you eating? So on and so forth. Now, for the young people, because you have a support system, when you start earning money, I know a lot of kids, a lot of young adults, grade 10, they start a part-time job. They're 14, 15. They start part-time jobs, 16 as well. They start part-time jobs and they start making some money. They start seeing what finances are. And usually when they make money, they don't know what to do with it. Here's my advice. When you make money, good. You can contribute towards the expenses of the house as well. Maybe you don't want to do that. Maybe that sounds really weird and sick and what? It's my money. But you belong to your parents, guys. And I say this in a very metaphorical and a very philosophical way. Your parents spend everything on you, maybe help around the house. That's what happened in the 1970s. When a child would graduate school or university or college and would get their first job, the parents would say to that child that now you are in charge of one specific bill in the house. You're going to be giving the electricity bill. The other child used to graduate, you will be doing the gas bill. Another child would graduate, you're going to pay, or all three of you are going to pool now and pay for education for your younger brothers and sisters. And they would split and actually become a stronger unit of people because they will each have responsibility. So take things in a more responsible way. Take one bill in your house, whether it be a utility bill, whether it be a phone bill, whatever it might be. Take one bill in your house and run with it. Number two, save money. Buy whatever you want to. It's your money. Nobody's going to dictate. But my advice, if you're going to go out and buy something luxurious like a phone, the new iPhone 14, 15 is out. The new, I'll tell you something. Yes, there are packages available. You can go and get a phone and pay $20 a month. I understand that. All things are there. Just some advice, which will definitely make things better. If you cannot buy something three times, not two times, three times, then do not buy it. Because if you do, you're compromising your own situation. You're compromising your own self. And you're going to make things difficult for yourself. Let's say a phone is for $2,000. If you have $6,000 in your bank and saved up or cash or whatever, go for it, buy it. But if you do not, and this 6,000 is money that you can spend easily, money that you could spend that is there to spend, savings. Yes, you can go and buy it. Now, a lot of people are probably asking, what do I mean by savings and whatnot? This is where the technique comes in. A lot of people say, oh, 5, 10, 20, 15%, this percent, this, that. Forget all that. I will be giving you a strategy right now that should help you. Whenever you get a paycheck, whenever you work and you get some lump sum of money with you, 30% minimum, put it towards a saving. So don't deduct expenses first and look at what is left. Deduct your saving first. And then whatever you have, you're going to manage your expenses with it. That way, that 30% remains and keeps growing. You have nothing to worry about. Your parents are there. You are a step ahead because you have a support system. And as I said, before times become too difficult and you're on your own, use this time to your advantage to become stronger, take more responsibility, become more mature. These are the ways we do it. Other than that, pray as much as you can as well. As a Muslim, inshallah, we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us all the energy, the mind, the health that we need to tackle all difficulties in our lives. But always remember one thing. All these things that I'm telling you, all this advice, by the way, this isn't just my advice. I don't want to take full credit for it. These are by people who are statisticians. These are people who are research psychologists. These are people who are biologists who studied the life and life sciences and different things, humanities. These are people who are business people who are ahead of their time. You find all types of people giving all types of advice. You should do what you can to make sure you grow. That's all. Make sure that you're in a better position and that you're stronger. Become more technical. Don't always go out and ask for help when something cannot be solved or something's broken in front of you. Try fixing it first. It'll make you better. Invest in your education as much as you can. Number 3, make sure that you're properly exercising, working out, and that you have a routine that makes you healthy. Number 4, I'm going to switch number 5 and number 4 together. Number 4, make sure that when you earn money, it's a good thing. When you're 14, 15, 16, you go out to do a part-time job. If you're in your early 20s and you have your first job, great. Awesome. When you get your money, first take out savings and then see what you're left with. Those are what you have to manage your expenses from. Take out at least 30% is what I say because you have a support system. This is not for a grown-up. This is not for the immigrant father or mother. No, because we've got too much on our plates. We have to help our kids in too many ways. We've got too much that's tying us down. We do not have the luxury of savings at times. The only thing that we can do is meet expenses and try to meet expenses. So, with that luxury, you should be saving 30% because you've got 3 meals coming to you every single day. You're not paying for them. If you are going out and paying for food when you have food at home, that's a stupid thing to do. Pardon my language, but just a reality check. Number 5, count your blessings. Or I'm changing a little bit of it. So number 5, count your blessings. Understand where you stand. You have a family, your parents are working, you don't have to pay for any bill in the house right now. Everything is good. You're only worried about yourself. That's number 5, count your blessings. Number 6, if you want to go out and buy something luxurious, fun, a phone, AirPods, iPods, a watch, whatever, something cool, something awesome, a suit, something that's branded. If you cannot buy it 3 times, do not even buy it once. Simple as that. With that, my young friends and my older friends, I hope and I wish you the strength needed mentally and physically, the maturity needed mentally and physically for the time that's coming. I can see it. Many other people can too. Inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the ability to tackle it in the best way possible. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْأُسْرِ يُسْرًا. Verily, with hardship comes ease. Don't run into things to impress people or putting money in the wrong areas or places. Remember, take things slowly and understand them before you indulge into something. And don't worry about money that much. Yep, save whatever you can. You're young. And remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is razik. So inshallah, you'll pull through. The only thing you have to do is work a little harder. The only thing you have to do is be a bit more mature than my generation or the one that was before mine. The only thing you have to do is become stronger than the generation before yours. Food for thought. Think about it.